2. Episode 10.
Are we on 10 already?
I think this is episode 10 of the podcast. Yeah, because the last one must have been 9.
8, 9, 10.
Yeah. If my math is correct, I think that's how numbers work.
2 months, 10 episodes.
Oh, for real, huh?
Pretty much. I forgot the date we started, but I think we're right around 2 months in. 10 episodes. Ahead of schedule, so if we're doing one a week. That's pretty insane.
Yeah. We had our first deal. I think we're at like 15,000 subscribers on YouTube already.
That is so sick.
Pretty sick. I'm really stoked to see that so many people are so hyped on the podcast. I just had someone today in our surf session we had earlier out at Rockies, that super, super shitty session. This French guy came up, he's like, I love the podcast. And I told him we got new mics, and he was just even
Fired
more
up.
He was stoked, yeah.
That was one positive out of a very bad session.
That was the only thing. I forgot to tell you that, actually.
I feel like we've gotten a lot better, though, at bad sessions. Like, I come in a lot less frustrated.
I expected more.
Now it's something like, I expect this to go bad, and if it's good, you're like, bonus.
Yeah, because we surf so much, and you're bound to just have such terrible sessions sometimes.
I used to get really frustrated by it.
Yeah. I still get so frustrated.
Yeah.
Do you remember, not to bring up bad moments in your life, but do you remember during the shootout that one year when you were riding those epoxy pipe boards? I don't think I've ever seen you more frustrated.
That was like, so I had gotten on this kick of epoxy, and you knew, but maybe the listeners or viewers didn't know. If you guys watch my YouTube, then you probably knew about it, but I was on this kick of like, epoxy is better. They feel better, more reactive on shortboards. I want epoxy step-ups. So I was like, I just need to commit to a full season of epoxy step-ups. Really light, all my 6.2, 6.6s, and 6.8s epoxy. I go first trip to Chopes, and Chopes is like, there's nothing out of place there. It's a perfectly clean face. It's always like glassy. Conditions are always really nice. And so the boards felt insane. They paddled well. They reacted well. I remember I had this wave where like an airdrop super far, laid back, and I was like, I'm done. And the board just was glued to my feet. And I was like, this is insane.
I think I remember that wave. It was a pretty sick wave.
Hawaii winter comes, and I'm like, epoxy all the way. Epoxy theories. Pipe is a much different story because it is so much going on. There's backwash. There's most of the time we have strong trade winds, so there's constant wind, and there's bump on the face, all over the face. And rarely do you get a clean drop at pipe. Like, I feel like the Chopes may be more intimidating to commit. Pipe is a like more difficult drop because of how unpredictable it is.
Yeah.
And I basically spent 2 months falling, like every session, like. And I would make a few and be like, no, like it's just me, like it's something's going on, like maybe I forgot. I started to doubt myself, like I forgot how to surf. I was like probably telling you guys that, like, fuck, I don't know if I got it anymore. And John was like, from the beginning, he's like, get off the epoxy, they're unpredictable. And I'm like, you don't get it, it's epoxy all the way. I got to like 3 weeks of not making a wave, and that led into the shootout, and I didn't make a wave in any of my shootout heats. And I'm surfing with John, Ivan, and Eli, and they're all getting blown out of barrels, and I'm like awkwardly falling mid-face.
Yeah. Did that team win the shootout? Did you guys win?
No.
No?
I don't think we did. But I finally gave up on epoxies after that, and I went back to poly, and it was just so, in rough conditions, it is so much more predictable what the board's going to do, how it's going to act. It's just a steady, trusty board that it's going to cut through chop. It has its own weight and all that stuff. Like the lightness of the epoxy on the foam ball is sick, but it's for certain waves, but all around the poly boards were better. But yeah, that was back to frustrating sessions.
You were so gung-ho and so committed to the epoxy boards. And for those of you that don't know, there's like 2 styles of surfboards you can get, epoxy and poly, and they're just 2 different foams that are used and resins. But Nate was so hyped on those epoxies, and they went terrible. And he was so convincing in the beginning after his Chopes run. He got me to order a full pipe quiver of epoxy surfboards, and I thought my surfing went to shit. I'm like, I was doing the same thing, and then your brother's like, get off the epoxies. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know, what am I doing? And then I got back on some older boards I had and just started ripping at pipe again. And you were still just like, they worked that one trip at Chopes. And
I'm a good salesman, even when it's not going my way.
you know how many stocks you've sold me on? You know how much money you probably owe me if I invoice you for your.
When we were our investing career is hilarious, but I was just so into studying the market at one point, and I would get
Just
so
fumbling
into
the
these
market.
into these companies, like gung ho into them. I'm reading like how many new hedge funds invested per quarter. The numbers of hedge funds is growing. That means big money, smart money is moving into these stocks. Koa, you gotta get into Airbnb now.
Get in now. It's at the peak. You're going to miss the drop.
I know it just IPO'd and went up 150%. I'm saying it's a buy.
Yeah.
It just went off a cliff.
I still have those stocks. I'm waiting. It's a 5-year hold, you know?
I told you. At some point, I'm going to say, I told you it was a good buy.
You tried to tell me the other day, you're like, see, Airbnb today was up like 15%, like a couple weeks ago or something. I'm like, yeah, you see the long term when we bought it?
Up 15% today, down 60%.
I need like
year to date.
1,000% return.
They'll be back.
But whatever.
We should
That's
do a segment on here where, since we both have like small Robinhood accounts, challenge percentage-wise.
Of who can lose the most or win the most. We could start now. We should start a separate Robinhood account, $1,000, and do a little competition.
We'll do a competition.
We're not allowed to tell each other our trades.
No.
And we just see within like, I don't know, a couple months.
Well, every week we'll update, or we can do it every week or every month, but every week, since it'll be near the end of the week, we'll update on our trading and our percentage gain. Or we could do 1 month or just year to date, because now Robinhood has the year to date thing. We just click year to date.
God. I remember, that's a really good idea. I think we should do that.
Yeah.
And update weekly.
Yeah.
Be like, what are you at? What if one of us gets it to like $100,000?
I've had this mindset before.
Well, what
didn't work out.
What started my actual day trading path was you were always into it, and like Zord and John and everyone, and like I have my traditional investments, but I got in on the GameStop thing super early.
Mm-hmm.
And you did too, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was GameStop, AMC, theaters, BlackBerry, Nokia. I bought options calls in all of those the day before they took off.
We did together, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And my account, you called, I was talking to you at like 3 a.m. I
was on a snowboard trip.
Yeah, and you're like, we're rich. We're fucking
rich.
rich.
I was awake before you. I knew you were sleeping. And then we woke up, so we bought like whatever amount of these options, and the stock had gone up like 400% in a day, like on stock price alone. So the options, we were up like 12,000% on these options.
I don't know what it was, but all I know is it was when I downloaded Robinhood, because I was always just never a day trader. I just have my stuff on E-Trade, whatever. And then download Robinhood a day later, put 2,000 in that day, buy those options. I've never even heard of options, and we're just talking about it. And all of a sudden my account the next morning is at $70,000 or something.
Insane.
I got screenshots of it. And I was just blown away.
Overnight,
woke up to just a million calls from you.
I woke up and I seen it, and I was like, oh my God. I like elbowed my wife. I was like, we just made 80 grand overnight. And she's like, what? I was like sweating. I'm like, I'm calling Koa. Wake the fuck up. We're rich.
That's all you were saying.
We're rich.
Yeah. Money, power. But I remember... after that, I made all that money and then proceeded to be like, wow, I'm just a trading god, and we're in like the best bull market ever at the time.
Well, do you remember the next one? I was like, Riot. We need Riot calls. Let's buy Riot. We bought Riot, and Riot went psycho. It went from $20 to $60.
Yep.
And we made another huge gain.
Like 1,000% or something.
And the second gain was probably psychologically so damaging in the long run because when it was 2 in a row, it was like, you know what? I'm the best that ever lived at investing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have $10 million in this account very, very soon.
Yeah.
And then I remember like I was making like some crazy amount of money per day because the bull market was so gnarly.
So good.
And then all of a sudden, I just had the first big red day. And the account had gone so crazy in a single day, down 30 grand on this account.
Yeah.
And if the money wasn't like, you're psychologically, you don't see it as like money in your bank account necessarily.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
almost
play
like-
money.
It's like Dave and Buster
It
tokens
felt like,
or something.
tokens.
Because it just went crazy and it was
It
just
grew
like,
so fast that you're like, oh, that's just part of my profits.
yeah, you're not used to looking at your bank account on this app that can grow and decrease or anything
I
like.
so wish I had
with
just pulled it all out.
Yeah.
And
Put
I
it in now.
proceeded to revenge trade and done evil things to my account. Terrible, dirty things.
Yeah, now yeah.
Anyway, we're restarting
Let's not. Yeah.
now.
We're still up. We're still up. Still up.
You are. Somebody is somewhere.
Okay, so now we put in $1,000. Have a little weekly competition.
Yeah, we'll do it for
Should be
here
fun.
for the people on the podcast that are
Yeah, if you
interested
guys
in
want to
this.
join too, you can leave your comments. We should almost start like a little forum or something
Yeah,
on like one of the YouTube posts or something that you can go comment your.
comment your.
You know, it doesn't have to be $1,000. We'll just go off a percentage,
Yeah,
but it has to start now.
yeah. I'm in
a good idea.
another competition with another group, and that one, the competing and trading thing is just, it's extremely difficult to keep your head because there's guys in the group that are just super on it, super
Yeah.
controlled, stop losses every time.
What's a
no
stop loss?
risk.
Exactly. I don't even know how to set that on Robinhood. I don't know how.
And in this group, Zord last year lost, and the loser like buys dinner or whatever. But Zord lost with he being down 99.9% year to date in his account.
He must have only traded options. He's down 100%. Well, how much? What's a penny is in his account or something?
Literally, it was something like that. It was like a couple grand to like $1.
I love that.
I
love those stories.
inspired.
You know that Reddit thread, the lost porn,
Lost porn,
or whatever it's called, and people
Wall
just
Street bets. Yeah,
Wall Street bets.
yeah.
So
It gets you
everyone-
so fired up.
They're like YOLO, YOLO,
Totally
200
down.
grand, and then the next day it's just down to like $2.
Pain, great
like
pain.
moving back to my parents' basement.
It's got so crazy that
It's
dudes were killing themselves.
Oh no way.
The one dude, from what I believe of the story, this is why Robinhood started to get tons of heat, was he bought options, and instead of selling like the options, he exercised them, and it bought the shares. But he had like a ton of options, which every one option is 100 shares. So it was so margined out that when he exercised it, overdrafted his account. I think this is what happened, to like 800 grand. It looked like he owed in the account. But in reality, it was just because he had all those shares. If he just sold all the shares, it was of Tesla, he would have actually profited in the trade. I guess if the guys that did the math, he would have made like 5 grand. But to him, it just looked like, oh my God, I owe Robinhood 800 grand. And he freaked. And
Killed himself.
I guess. Like maybe there's more to the story, and probably always is. But from what I saw on like the Reddit forum, that was kind of the deal. Like, the overdraft freaked him out when all he had to do was he had the shares in the account, just sell them, and he would have gone back to break even.
Damn, I hope it's just a joke or something.
Maybe.
They're pretty funny on there.
They are pretty dark humor on there.
Yeah. Well, dark. Yeah. I really hope that didn't really happen. But so exercising. Let me wrap my head around this. He exercises shares, which means you have the right to buy them at the price you set. Correct. So he bought them.
He bought them.
And he didn't know about trading.
Whatever he did, like, he was in the money, the shares exercised at expiration.
Yeah.
And he had like,
Robinhood, $1
say he
million.
had 10 grand in his account, but
Yeah.
it bought 800 grand worth of Tesla shares.
Oh my God.
And so to him, it was like, you're down 790. And he was like,
shit.
fuck. But
It's
if
like,
he
how
just
does this happen?
sold, it would have been up.
Trading, dude, it's just straight up pure gambling. It's like going to Vegas and gambling. Robinhood is a straight gambling account. That's how I see it.
The stock market is gambling.
The whole thing, yeah. Well, it's not really if you invest in long-term.
The long-term
kinda like
thing, not really.
normal traditional
Yeah.
investments.
The day
like,
trading, like, close. Guys are good at it, though. Guys make tons of money.
Yeah. You gotta be really good at it. You gotta really know what's going on.
If you spent your whole life, like, I feel like the way we focus in on things,
Yeah, they know.
hyper-focus, get super motivated, psyched. If it's all we did,
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's all I had to do and all I had to think about and absorb knowledge on, I could probably trade totally successfully.
See, this is how Nate will talk you into buying a stock or riding a certain board. He's
Look,
so confident.
I'm doing a friends and family round. All I need is 100 grand from each of you. I'm going to take your money and make it into 10 million. I'll give it all back.
You guys, I stopped surfing yesterday, and now I'm this full-time trader, and I'm sure I can triple your money in a month. It's funny.
Works every time.
Every time.
Well, I don't know how we got onto that from bad sessions, but I feel like we're getting better with frustrating sessions, or maybe we've just gotten better with learning to surf and deal with that, because I feel like maybe 2 years ago, and I do see a lot of comments, like people noticed both of us, we went into turbo mode and trying to surf better, right?
Yeah.
Like, was it 2019? Like, I started air camp. We were like watching, we would come here and we would just watch surf edits and be like, okay, let's go work on that right now. We'd watch Parker Coffin and like the air guys.
Yeah.
And like, I spent 9 months from not being able to do a single air to like that year I landed the best airs of my life. But it took 9 months, and that was the most frustrating surf I've ever had in my life. But out of that, like 2 or 3 years, I feel like we surf so much better.
Way better.
Yeah.
We just focused a little bit harder. That's kind of like everything. Like, as you're saying with stocks, it's probably true. As long as you just set your mind to something and just are very disciplined on it, you can achieve it. Because when you were doing air cam, I'm like, fuck, I want to do airs too.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't go to your extent, because I remember you're surfing like 8 hours a day trying to do airs.
Yeah.
But I ended up trying a lot and failing and failing and failing and failing. Just being like, I had times where I was like, I'm just going to give up because I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, something would click. I'd be like, no, I'm not going to give up because I'm going to try until I succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do like crazy airs of all time. But for me, I finally started doing some little airs.
Yeah.
So it kind of is with anything in life. You just got to set your mind to it, set a goal, and just try.
So it was, exactly. It was really interesting because most of our surfing we learned from such a young age that it's ingrained into reflexes and how we surf.
Yeah.
And I see this is crazy because it comes full circle to like any amateur surfer out there asking how to surf better. I went through this going from 0 airs to like, I have my brother who's the best surfer in the world, like, hey, give me your knowledge on how to do airs. Like, I need to learn. Like you said, I was doing like 2-3 hour sessions a day at logs and the worst storm winds ever.
Yeah.
Over and over, my body just slamming on the water, like could not get it. My head was looking down, like, and I was studying footage, and I was coming in like near tears in a rage, like
So frustrated.
so frustrated. And I'm like, dude, like, John, like, help me out here. What's the deal? And it was like this crazy process because he was like, okay, you just need a ton of speed. You go down the line, you need good wind, and you go off the section. And I'm like,
yeah, he's like,
don't say that to me again, because I just did that for a month straight every day. And then he was like, okay, you're right. Like, but this is what's funny. And we're great at the things we are, and it's all instinctual now because we learned it when we were young. John had to like learn how to teach me what he had learned.
because
Does
it's
that
so
make sense?
natural for
It's
him.
so natural for
Yeah.
him. All it was in his head was pump down the line and go off the section. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Like, I need everything. Like, I need, what are you doing with your feet? What are you doing with your arms? What are you doing with your head?
Yeah.
And he started to like think about it more, and then he like started to give me these little tidbits. He's like, "Oh, look at your chin, like you're looking down at your board and you go off the section, like look up over your shoulder." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Oh, look at your arms, and why is your stance so narrow? Like, widen your stance, and let me see the board you're on. Why is this board so heavy?" Like, that was when Paisel was making me like the heaviest boards ever.
You're ordering epoxies just to get light surfboards.
Just to get light surfboards. And he's like, "You need lighter boards. You need a wider tail block." Like, and he started to teach better, and I started to like learn more quicker. But it literally, where I thought it was going to be a thing of working on it for a month, it took 9 months. So that was a huge thing in itself of just realizing like, all right, like you said, like I'm going to, like those days of like, I'm going to give up. I'm going to stop. Whether it was, for me, it was airs, but for anyone out there, like your turns or your duck dives or just paddling out or just popping up is such a big one. It just took a ton of time, and it took a ton of repetition and studying people doing it that were better than me on land, and then asking guys that were able to teach it, or getting John to like break through, just pump down the line and do it. And like similar, like some people will ask us that question, and you have to sit and think like, "Hey, how do you take off so fast?" And you're like, "What?"
Like, what do you just do it?
Like, I just stand up, you know? Like,
yeah.
But then like to teach them, you would have to go and break down like how you learned it 15 years ago, which we don't remember.
No, so. I remember somehow, because when I was younger, you know, I honestly was not that great of a surfer, even barrels or taking off. Because, like, remember our first time to Tahiti? When we were 16 years old, I could not, or my first time. You guys have been a lot, but my first time to Tahiti, I could not.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that session.
A drop. Yeah. And it threw me off so bad. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, it was before I was sponsored or anything. I was like, I'm not going to be a surfer. And I went through that trip, like, really bummed out on myself. And then I randomly went on a trip to Indo and started hanging out with Dingo Morrison. Mm-hmm. And it was one of my really good friends, yours too. But he showed me a photo of Andy and the way he was taking off on a wave with because my problem was making it down the face and just eating shit every time. But he showed me this photo. He's like, "This is how you have to take off." And now I watched Dingo surf on this trip, and I studied this photo of Andy. And all it was I was taking off. So I'm goofy foot. I was taking off like this, sideways. Like my board's going this way, and I'm going pretty much parallel with my board. Mm-hmm. All I had to do was turn my shoulder over and push my weight forward down the face. Like, put a lot of pressure on your front foot. And that changed my entire life. Next year, got sponsored, started surfing pipe, like way better, chopes, way better. All just because I got a little bit of information from someone that just helped me a lot.
And it was something as simple, like surfing is so weird. Like something as simple as like turning your shoulders.
Yeah.
Instead of being like full frontal parallel to the wave, turning in. And now if you look at like, if you guys were to look at a clip of Koa at chopes or pipe, or me on some sort of right, or John or any of these guys, you'll see that shoulder turn. You'll see exactly what Koa is talking about.
They're square to your surfboard, so your shoulders are going, like your chest is going where you're going, down the wave. But it's hard because you have to commit to dropping into those waves. And you want to be like this, like, oh, I don't want to poke. But you have to tell yourself, like, down the wave.
Down, and if your shoulders are parallel with the wave, what like often happens is the way it balances you, you're not prepared if you catch an outer rail. So you like late and then you catch like that, right? But when you turn, your back foot is prepared for just being all forward motion and keeping the nose out of the water.
Yeah, and you keep the other rail out of the water too.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It just takes time. Everything in surfing takes time.
Yes.
Like Nate had John Florence teach him how to do airs. It took him 9 months.
Took me 9 months with the best surfer in the world coaching me.
Well, it's funny. He's the best surfer in the world, but probably not the best coach because, like you said, he had to relearn it.
Exactly. And he had to learn how to teach. And I have felt the same thing. Like one time I had my dad come out here and he's like, "I really want to ride some waves." And he had never like really committed to learning to surf. And I was like, "Okay, I got you. Like, we have 1 week. We're going to take you from like barely knowing how to paddle to like riding a wave. And it was the same thing. Like, I'm like, stop doing what you're doing and do this. And he's like, I don't get it. And then I was like, okay, hold on. Like I gotta teach you. I gotta learn how to teach you.
Yeah.
And you gotta learn how to learn. Like that. It was like literally I was learning how to coach and he was learning how to learn from me. Yeah. And in the end, within 4 days, we got him up and riding waves. Like fully.
4 days.
4 days. And it was so much. It was like he was getting on his soft top, head sideways, ear flat on the board. Like, you know that position where they're like sideways and their shoulders are like, everything's just flat on the board. And he's like, my shoulders are aching. And I'm like, bro, both legs hanging off the back of the board. I'm like, okay, legs together, arch your back, look forward, chin forward, arch your back, smooth, like you're riding a bike. Like, you don't want to be wobbling all over, like paddle. Like, and we got his paddle down. And when we got his paddle down, he started catching waves more and like just this full interesting thing with that type of stuff. But like we said, it takes time and with anything. But what's hard with surfing, and a lot of the people, they don't get to surf every single day because they work 9 to 5s. And so they're weekend warriors. And so their time in the water and the time it takes them to learn is like way longer.
So they should just quit their job and just be a surfer full time.
That's where I think things like being all like, in order to get the most out of those weekends, like you guys should be, if you're not, you should be training in those 9 to 5. You should be hitting the gym and just keeping fit. Yeah. So that when you do go in the water, your cardio doesn't burn out. At least, if anything, just have good cardio. That way, instead of like weekend comes around, you go surf and 30 minutes in, you're burnt out because you don't have any cardio. Yeah. You can put 2 or 3 or 4 hours in Saturday and Sunday, and then you're like tripling your learning time in the water because you just really need time in the water.
Yeah. That's the gym helps a lot, especially for people that have 9 to 5s, I guess. That'd be the best probably advice for people with jobs like that can't surf all the time and they only got weekends. But the training we've been doing lately, since the waves have been so bad, I've been in the gym so much, like same with you. But my gym cardio is insane. Like I'm lifting more than ever. I'm stronger than ever in the gym. And then I get in the water and I am exhausted paddling. But I haven't surfed in like 3 weeks.
Paddling is so hard to replicate.
It's crazy. I don't know what you can really train to get those muscles good besides just paddling.
100% nothing is going to replicate paddling. And like land fitness is far different. I think a base engine, and when I say engine, I mean your endurance. A base of endurance is going to take you a long way. Mobility in your shoulders, so your traps don't burn out if you're a beginner. And the one thing that I have been doing a ton more through the last weeks of training, that like today, the other days we surfed right after a workout. So we were fucking tired.
That's terrible.
But today, my paddling, I was tripping because those other days I was like, oh, I feel that like lag, that difference in fitness.
You feel slow.
Slow, and my ribs really hurt from laying on my board. I hadn't laid on my board. But today, I was like, I had just come off like a little bit slower of a week. I didn't train right before we surfed. Felt so strong in the water. My paddling felt strong. Everything felt strong. And I swear it's the ski erg machine.
Yeah, that would be a really good
If there's
machine.
anything that's going to come close, it's the ski erg machine.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be paddling, but it's going to be like just close enough to like keep you fit on paddling, give you 10, 20, 30% advantage on the weekend.
The rower too, probably would be a good one.
I think it's for those of you that are listening, you're just gonna have to look up a ski erg machine. But for those watching, the movement is like a person cross country skiing, where you come from the top and you pull this cord and it goes down, and that is the same paddle movement, right?
Yep.
You're pulling water, going like this,
one
or the other. I used to do these intervals where I'd go one arm to the other, like just trying to figure it out. It looks super bad, but it's the closest thing you're gonna get to paddling on land, I think.
That's true.
But it's just funny because the more we talk about these things, like you just realize more and more little things of how bad paddling is because
it's the hardest exercise.
Think of our body position. You're laying flat on your belly. Your
balancing
neck is arched up.
Yeah.
So you're you would never. Any doctor would say, do not lay like that. Like,
this is what you look like.
Exactly.
If you're paddling and sitting
Like,
down.
imagine
That's what
standing
it
and
is.
looking straight up at the sky for hours and waving your arms. Like, that's paddling positioning, right? Like, your back is like screwed, arched. Your neck is in the worst neck position ever. Like, what do I tell you guys when we're deadlifting? Like, chin down, don't look up like that. They call it chicken necking, but we do that so bad for hours on end while surfing.
So we should be doing that in the gym when we're lifting super heavy.
We should be practicing chicken neck.
Maybe that's why we do that, because we're so used to it.
Yeah, but it's not good
Yeah,
for our
it's not.
necks. Like, people say that, surfing is this thing. It's this natural thing that's good for your body. It's like yoga. No, surfing is
No.
terrible for your body. It really is horrendous for your body. It's unnatural to stand in a asymmetrical stance your entire life and rotate one direction your whole life and grind your shoulders into oblivion with millions of rotations of paddling over a lifetime of surfing.
Dude. Yeah, so I was thinking that too when we were talking about hurting our necks, looking up. I was like, people are always saying it's the best thing ever for you. Now the more I think about it, it's like, no, it's not.
It's not.
I've had spine surgery. You just broke your back.
Yes.
It is so gnarly on your body.
It's
not. No matter what kind of surfing.
No,
you get
dude.
so injured.
And this is what pisses me off, because when I first started doing the weightlifting, like the clean and jerking and the Olympic lifting, and years ago I was posting it, and people would be like, "You're an idiot. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna cause horrible things to happen."
I might have been one of those guys.
I've never hurt myself in the gym, but I've hurt myself in the ocean, and the ocean causes horrible imbalances. And this is what I always go back to: if you only surfed, you will 100% create a huge imbalance and have problems down the line.
Yeah.
But like, if you surf and you go in the gym and you do these corrective exercises like a deadlift, where both sides of your back get used, whereas in surfing only one side's getting majority use. Like, if you look at a good example was before John started training, and I'm sure tons of surfers have that don't train in the gym and balance it out. One side of their back is a huge dip, a hole in muscle, an underdeveloped side, and then the other side of his back was this lump of muscle, like crazy overdevelopment on one side and underdevelopment on the other side. And he broke his back at pipe, and he never had that again because that got him training in the gym, and it's always like an injury that does that. But surfing creates the worst imbalances that can be corrected in the gym. And I'm not saying everyone go start clean and jerking, because you just have to be really fired up on it and have the form down perfectly.
There's a lot of other things you can do besides
a lot of other things,
weightlifting. But there is, so we are talking about how bad it is on the body and how harmful it can be. But surfing and getting blown out of like a big barrel, or if you're a beginner, you accomplish something that you've been trying to do, there's no better feeling in the world than something like that, with working with the ocean, putting in that much time, and then to succeed in something you've like envisioned. That's where it all makes it worth it.
Yeah.
So there is a
mentally, I think like there's a reason why they take it's the saltwater too, but like the cystic fibrosis kids out in the water and they get them out and they love it. Then you have some of the biggest CEOs in the world, the guys that run the biggest, baddest companies and have the most type of stress that carries with it. They love surfing. Mm-hmm. They love it. And they all say, because you go out and you cannot not be present. Yeah. Right? Everything on land gets forgotten. You're in a constantly moving force, and you're trying to ride waves, and you have to be present and on instinct mode, which takes you out of thinking about every other stress in your life.
Yeah, it's like a form of meditation, fully. You get you're not focused on nothing. You're just hyper-focused on one thing.
Yes.
Which is, I have never in my life been able to find that feeling anywhere else. Like the gym, we'll do the craziest workouts, we'll go biking, skydiving, like anything, any other extreme sport or whatever, like snowboarding and stuff. I've never had that feeling of only focusing on one single thing. Yeah. Just surfing. Yeah. Making this wave. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because You're focused on one thing, but your body is doing a million things.
Yeah.
Like say you're taking a huge drop somewhere into a massive barrel, because that's just where my mind always goes as a surfer.
Yeah.
And your body is doing so much. You're getting weightless. You're sometimes airdropping and sticking to the wave. You're in the right position on your surfboard. You're the right level of your knees being bent. Your arms in the right place. Your head's in the right place. And you have to pump. But you don't realize any of that ever. It's just always making the wave. It's the only thing I can think of.
There's a reason we hardly remember any of it.
Yeah.
We're not even probably fully conscious. Like your brain reverts
Yeah.
back to like, okay, here's free reign to the subconscious where your instincts have the most freedom and they can react the fastest. And that in that place is exactly what you're talking about. There is nothing else penetrating that. There's no other outside influence. It's pure, like a purest form of survival thought.
Yeah.
Right. Every second time is slowed and sped up at the same time.
It's weird. It's just a different realm.
Paradox.
It's a paradox. It's a paradox. What is a paradox? It sounds very intense.
I don't know.
No, but one more feeling. So how's when you go from that feeling? My mind just always goes to chopes on those gnarly drops because it's mainly that drop.
Yeah.
You know? So how's that feeling when you're in that state and you feel that like singular thing, that one thought of just making the wave, and then shit goes wrong and you get everything comes back to reality and you're like, I fucked up. And you just get smoked. That is the craziest,
It's the weirdest thing.
It's like if you were meditating and in like the deepest meditation anyone could ever get into, and someone just comes and slaps you.
It's full on like those funny clips where it does the like, it's like slow-mo and really pretty nice music. Like in Surf's Up, it happens. It's like, oh, I'm doing it. And it goes like record scratch. And he goes, it's like, oh my God, why did I put myself here?
It's such a crazy sport, just having to deal with nature. You're dealing with nature.
It's so dope.
It's insane. Best thing ever. It's the best job in the world.
Yes, best job in the world.
For us, especially.
A lot of, you see, or not a lot, but there is quite a few people who, and even we catch ourselves doing it, you complain about the surf industry and oh, this and that, and like certain guys you see like posting about how their edit didn't get enough views.
What are you talking about exactly?
But like at the end of the day, it's just like we get paid to surf.
It's the craziest thing.
And if you're not like just every day being super hyped and like appreciative to do it, obviously you should get your value, right? You should know your value and the brand should deservingly give you what you're valued at.
Yeah. I agree.
That's separate to the fact that we're out here getting paid to surf every day.
Yeah.
And it's on you to work as hard as you want to get paid more to surf every day. And if you sit back and go, I'm just going to do bare minimum, then like you might not get the biggest paychecks. You know?
No, that's a fact.
For me, like, I love to think about this. It's, hey, what would you do if you were retired? And I'm like, I would do the same thing I'm doing. And so my goal is like, I don't need more. I just need enough to keep doing what I'm doing forever.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. Like we live the perfect life, but we just need enough resources and financial like money to continue doing it till I die at whatever age.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
I just put out a video on how the surf world's changed, or not how the surf world's changed, but how surfers make money, because that's such a big question. And or actually that video is going up tomorrow, but it brought up a lot of thoughts from before of how we used to make there was either free surfing or contest surfing.
Yes.
And now there's so many different outlets like social media and like all that other stuff, coaching and whatever. But I really missed or like reminisced about being able to pick up a magazine, like a surf magazine when we were Groms, and just flip through it and be like, wow, Like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older. I don't know if everyone feels this way, but like, I miss being able to like open Surfer or Transworld or Surfing Mag and just get like inspired by really good surfers, because now you see a lot of people who aren't very good at surfing that are very popular surfers.
Yeah.
So I think back then, not
Nice.
hating on this day and age of surfing, because I make my career off of
Yeah.
being like able to make videos and like do awesome things. But I feel like back in the day, even just when we were Groms, like the talent of the people who were surfers that were well known was just like extremely through the roof.
Yeah. No, I
Whereas-
definitely agree. Because for one, I think like the magazine thing, it was like one issue a month.
Yeah.
And so like you'd have to wait all that time to
And there are
see
only 4
like,
magazines. So.
and maybe they did like some crazy trip you didn't know about. You had no idea. Where today, everything is posted day of.
Yeah.
And if it isn't, you feel bored with it for whatever reason because it's been seen somewhere or heard about or something. Like the mags were like, those trips were so underground, you did not know it happened until you saw the cover. And you're like, oh my God, there's Bruce. He got the cover. He went on this crazy trip to Mexico or like something like that. And so the exposure was way less. Now, it's just thrown in our face every single day. And then
you almost become numb to great surfing as well.
You become numb to like, I see stuff on Instagram sometime that I'm like, that was psycho. There's like 5 comments. Like, people are just like tuned out of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's on the other side of that. Like, it's one thing of just constant flooding of in your face content that you get bored of it. But is people can fool you with Instagram a lot easier. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get the shot of one of these really gnarly photographers, and you're not going to be on the surf trip with these guys and these other pros unless you're top 1%, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to get that huge cover unless you're the best or surfing with the best.
Back then, you got the gnarliest wave.
You got the gnarliest wave. Yeah. And now anyone can get their own guy and they can go and kind of like make it look like they're the baddest dude on the planet and say they're the baddest dude on the planet and post that constantly, and people are going to believe it because they don't know any different.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I'm interested to see where the surf world ends up.
But you know what?
People, like, who is going to be the most popular surfers when?
And with the YouTube thing is, you see a lot of guys that do that. Like, I mean, some, but like YouTube, you can't fool people because you have to show most of your full session. You know, you have to show the person you are every week to a lot of people, and you got to show the way you surf every week to a lot of people. And on Instagram, you can get away with posting one clip because you worked a whole month or 2 months to get that clip.
Yeah.
Or you made some like training montage and then used a clip from like 2 years ago.
I feel like you want to drop some names here.
Just like there's a bunch of people that post these like throwbacks over and over again.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You can't hide from YouTube.
YouTube?
You have to put out.
Do any of them have vlogs? No.
No.
Because
they can't. They know that.
They have to be seen every week. And what do they look like on a weekly, daily basis?
Yeah.
And what is your personality like on a weekly, daily basis? People who are different on Instagram, a different personality, like they can't show, like it turns into a paradox. Back to the paradox.
They put a mask on. I think that's why this podcast is really cool. It's like we can just talk and just be ourselves, you know, and people can just like listen if they want to, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But I think that's also like why we have an advantage in YouTube and just surf careers in general, and like going back to how surfers make money. Mm-hmm. And people might think, oh, if I started a YouTube channel and did
when they did,
I would kill it. Yeah. Like, go ahead, start your channel. Because I've seen a lot of channels started and a lot of channels fail.
Yeah. I remember when I started my YouTube, everyone was making fun of me. Everyone. You were not really one of them, but you ended up.
I was like psyched on the YouTube thing.
Yeah. But everyone was just hating so hard because I would put personality stuff out.
Yeah,
rather
like
than
talking stuff.
Yeah. I would do like my first vlog is like I go on a hike and then go get an acai bowl or something.
Some of yours were super cheeseball though.
I know, but I didn't have a direction.
No,
like,
yeah,
the only
you were
surfer
just like
I had to look at really in that world was Jamie. And he was
Jamie.
doing jackass crazy stunts.
Yeah,
So
he
I
was.
I wasn't.
Stuntman.
That was a really cool time for Jamie stuff too. But yeah, I got a lot of heat for that. And I was just like, I'm just not gonna give up. I'm just keep pushing through it.
Yeah.
I watched channels come and fail
Yeah.
from the same people that were like
Yeah.
giving me shit in the beginning.
Yep.
It's pretty funny.
That's how it always works out.
Yeah. First they, what is that saying?
You can't knock it till you try it.
First they hate, then they imitate.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Like I was hating on your paddle out video, and then
you imitated it.
Yeah, it was John's idea. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And boom, like 400,000 views. I'm
Yeah.
like, works good.
Yep. Freaking
This is the
Nate.
only one I put out.
Post a raw paddle out video. Fuck that.
Nate's over here just disliking everyone's video on YouTube.
I reported your video. Copyright. Fraud. Scam.
Yeah, it's funny. YouTube's really fun. You get to really connect with an audience of people.
It is so different than Instagram.
So different. It's not even comparable. That's why I think YouTube. So YouTube's been around forever, and it's only grown and grown and grown. You've seen like Instagram has kind of fallen off, and now TikTok's showing up.
Yep.
And YouTube just has this steady climb of users.
They're so
like
dope.
it never goes away. And
No, YouTube is great to its creators, and it's just the subscriber is so far different than a follower is on Instagram.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
I don't know, they just feel, so maybe like not saying all are like that follow on Instagram, like some are like epic fan base, like they're psyched, they're there for you, they're messaging you, you talk to them. But YouTube, they're like backing you.
Yeah.
Like to the death, they back you.
Yeah.
They are full support. They're so supportive of everything you do. So shout out to the subscribers.
Yeah, thanks you guys. This is all possible because of you guys.
And it gets us super psyched
Yeah,
to
it's
continue.
awesome.
Because sometimes, just like when you're trying to do surf things, sometimes you get the wear and tear of having a camera on you 24/7,
Yeah, it
or
can
not
be
24/7,
gnarly.
but like it just gets a little grindy, and
It feels like a job.
you don't ever want to start feeling like that, but sometimes it just
Yeah.
does. But then like you read some comments, people are just so psyched.
Yeah, people are
Not
so
everyone has the
psyched.
opportunity to do what we do.
They're like, yeah.
And
No,
you're
we
like-
gotta be really grateful.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into those moments that you're like, I don't really like this, or like, what am I doing? Or is this even sick? You gotta like step back and be like, all right, I surf for a living. It's pretty sick.
And it's like a lot of people out there don't get the opportunity to travel the world and go to these different waves. And so I
Yeah.
get so psyched. Like I can't wait to show them what this wave is like.
Yeah, it's
And, like,
fun.
this new place. And I get to go enjoy it, but like for people that don't have the opportunity to, I get to bring that wave to them.
Yeah, you get to
And it's fucking dope.
like bring all your subscribers along.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I think that's what's one thing that really separates YouTube from all the other platforms is, so when you go on Instagram, you're just like swipe, cool, great, that sucks or whatever. It just very quickly you get through like 100 people's content.
Yeah.
YouTube, when I go on at least we put out very long videos, like 16 to 25 minute videos. When someone goes on YouTube and watches a video like I do, I sit there and watch a video for 16 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So you get so much more invested into these
Totally.
videos and learning and like the people that are making them.
And you
So it's-
appreciate them. You're
yeah.
like, thanks. That was an epic video.
Yeah.
Like all psyched. Thanks for showing me. Like for me, it's the CrossFit people like that. I get super psyched on training.
Yeah.
And they show me the behind the scenes, like what they're eating and the endurance work they did leading up to the games. And I'm like, you didn't have to do that,
Yeah,
but
it's
thanks.
sick.
Like I was psyched. Like I wanted
Yeah.
to know that stuff.
Mine is all food and cooking. Or like there's a bunch of these channels that literally just go to like Japan and they have like the most expensive sushi or steak they can ever get, and they just like have it cooked in front of you. I'm just like,
Did I send you the burger video? I was at Koa's house, and
you
when
didn't.
on his YouTube comes out. There's just the best burger ever. It's titled like speaking of the
Yeah,
food channel.
yeah.
You're like, you haven't seen this food channel? It's insane. We watch it.
It's so
I got
fun.
so freaked out. I went home and made those burgers.
no way.
Yeah,
How
made
was
the
it?
smash burgers. It was insane.
Oh, you didn't even bring me one.
I can't believe I didn't text you the video.
You didn't text me it or bring me one.
It's right here.
I would have been so sick. Oh my God. That looks insane.
Isn't that psycho?
Yeah.
Dude, I made the full sauce and everything. Look at it.
I told you when you were leaving, I'm like, go make burgers. And you're like, nah, I'm over it.
I got fired up.
That's sick.
3 double burgers with double cheese and that crazy sauce he made with the ketchup and mayonnaise and and the mustard and Worcestershire sauce.
How was that sauce? I was wondering about
It was
that.
insane.
Really, I got to make it.
And I was
I'm going to make it tonight.
way too full.
I'm inspired.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. I was 50. It's been 50 minutes. Just talking shit.
talking shit. That's all we got.
That's all we got right now, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It's over.
Cool. Yeah. Let us know if you guys want to see anyone else on the channel, and or who else you'd like to see. What? What are you laughing at?
Jack is staring at me. He's like,
The way his hat is.
he's not under the lamp this time.
Back to what I was saying. Sorry, Jack's distracting us. Let us know who you guys would like to see on the podcast, and yeah, leave a comment, like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Yep.
You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the support.
Thanks for
throughout this whole
listening.
thing.
Thanks for the support on our YouTube channels.
Episode 10 in the books.
Dusted.
10 episodes, I think. It's got to be 10.
Maybe. Paradox.